The Australian summer sun blazed down mercilessly on Rod Lava Arena, but nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, could match the ice-cold fury that Elena Rybakina brought to centre court. After 2 long years of waiting, 2 years of endless replaying that painful 2023 defeat in her mind over and over, the Kazakhstani ice queen finally got her revenge against Aryna Sabalenka in the most spectacular, most dramatic fashion imaginable. This wasn't just a tennis match, folks. This was a vendetta playing out on live television. This was pure justice being served. This was Elena Rybakina announcing to the entire tennis world in the loudest way possible that when it comes to the biggest stages and the highest stakes in our sport, she absolutely owns Aryna Sabalenka's soul. Let me paint you a vivid picture of what went down in Melbourne, because this Australian Open final will be talked about, analysed, and replayed for years to come. The final scoreboard read 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 in favour of Rybakina. But those simple numbers don't even begin to tell the full story of what actually unfolded on that electric evening. This was a psychological thriller worthy of Hollywood. This was a brutal test of mental fortitude. And ultimately, this was an absolute masterclass in championship tennis from a woman who flat out refused to let her dream slip away for a second time. Rewind back to 2023. Elena Rybakina walked onto that same exact court, faced that same exact opponent, and came up devastatingly short. Aryna Sabalenka lifted the Daphne-accursed Memorial Cup while Rybakina had to smile politely through the excruciating pain, shake hands like a professional, and watch someone else celebrate the victory that she believed should have been hers. That defeat didn't just sting in the immediate moment. It burned. It haunted her dreams. Every single time she closed her eyes, she could see Sabalenka's celebration replaying. Every practice session, every tournament, every single ball she hit in the 2 years that followed was preparation for one thing and one thing only: getting back to that final and making absolutely sure the ending was different this time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Elena Rybakina got her chance at redemption. And when the moment finally arrived, when destiny put her right back in that same situation against that same opponent in that same final, she didn't just win. She dominated. She dismantled. She destroyed any remaining doubt that she belongs at the absolute pinnacle of women's tennis. From the moment Rybakina stepped onto the court for the final, you could see something fundamentally different in her eyes. This wasn't the nervous, tentative player from 2 years ago. This was a woman on an absolute mission. This was someone who had visualized this exact moment literally thousands of times and knew exactly what needed to happen. Her warm-up was focused and intense. Her body language screamed confidence. And when the match officially began, Rybakina came out swinging like a woman absolutely possessed. That first set was a complete clinic in aggressive, attacking tennis. Rybakina's serve, already one of the most feared weapons in the entire women's game, was operating at a completely different stratospheric level. She was consistently hitting speeds that would make many men's professional players jealous. And the placement was surgical precision. Corners, T-line, body serves that jammed Sabalenka and prevented her from getting any rhythm whatsoever on her returns. When you've got a serve that good working at that elite level, you're basically starting every single point with a significant advantage. And Rybakina used that advantage absolutely ruthlessly. But it wasn't just about the serve dominance. Rybakina's ground game was firing on all cylinders simultaneously. Those deep, penetrating ground strokes were pushing Sabalenka further and further behind the baseline, forcing her into defensive positions where she's least comfortable. Rybakina was controlling the geometry of the court, dictating where rallies went and never allowing Sabalenka to establish her own aggressive patterns. Every time Sabalenka tried to step into the court and take control, Rybakina had an answer ready. Redirecting the ball to a different corner or changing pace with a perfectly timed slice. The tactical intelligence on display was remarkable. Rybakina wasn't just mindlessly blasting every ball as hard as she could. She was thinking 3 shots ahead, setting up patterns, creating openings, and then executing with precision when those openings appeared. She'd work Sabalenka from side to side, then drop in a short ball to bring her forward, then pass her with a screaming forehand down the line. It was chess played at 300 km/h and Rybakina was playing like a grandmaster. When Rybakina closed out that first set 6-4, the message couldn't have been clearer. She wasn't intimidated by the moment. She wasn't scared of her opponent. She wasn't going to let history repeat itself. This was her day, her time, her championship, and nothing was going to stop her from claiming what she'd come for. Of course, you don't become a multiple Grand Slam champion like Aryna Sabalenka without knowing how to fight back viciously. In the second set, we saw exactly why Sabalenka has been such a dominant force in women's tennis. She raised her level significantly, increased her aggression, and started taking the fight directly to RYBAKINA. Those massive Sabalenka ground strokes, the ones that have terrorized opponents from Melbourne to New York and everywhere in between, started finding their range. She was stepping into the court, taking balls on the rise and redirecting RYBAKINA's power right back with interest. The momentum swing in the second set was dramatic and complete. Suddenly, it was RYBAKINA who looked uncomfortable. RYBAKINA who was scrambling. RYBAKINA who was struggling to maintain the dominant position she'd held in the first set. Sabalenka's first serve percentage improved significantly, giving her free points and easier service games. Her return game sharpened up dramatically, putting more pressure on RYBAKINA's service games. And most importantly, she was winning those crucial baseline exchanges, the bread-and-butter rallies that define matches at this elite level. When Sabalenka closed out the second set, we had ourselves a proper Grand Slam final. Everything was level. All the early advantage that RYBAKINA had built was completely gone. We were heading into a deciding third set with the Australian Open Championship hanging in the balance. What happened in that third set is where legends are made and where this match will live forever in tennis lore. Aryna Sabalenka came out firing like a woman who smelled victory. She was aggressive from the first point, going for her shots, playing with freedom and confidence, and the results showed immediately. She broke RYBAKINA's serve in the opening game. Then she held her own serve comfortably. Then she broke again. Before anyone could blink, Sabalenka had raced to a commanding 3-games-to-love lead in the deciding set of a Grand Slam final. Think about that for a moment. 3-love in the third set. Sabalenka was just 3 games away from retaining her Australian Open title. The trophy was practically in her hands. The momentum was entirely with her. She was playing the better tennis. The crowd was buzzing with anticipation. Everything pointed toward a Sabalenka victory. Most players in RYBAKINA's position would have started thinking about what went wrong, what they could have done differently, how they let another opportunity slip away. But Elena Rybakina is not most players. What we witnessed over the next 25 minutes was one of the greatest displays of mental toughness and championship-level tennis you will ever see on a tennis court. Instead of crumbling under the pressure, instead of tightening up or panicking or drastically changing her game plan, Rybakina did something remarkable. She simply decided to play better tennis. It sounds simple when you say it like that, but the execution was anything but simple. Down 3-love in a Grand Slam final deciding set against a player who was in complete control, Rybakina had to dig deeper than she'd ever dug before. Point by point, Rybakina started chipping away at Sabalenka's lead. She held her serve to get on the board at 3-1. Then she broke Sabalenka's serve to make it 3-2. And suddenly the impossible comeback was becoming possible. She held again for 3-all and now the momentum had completely shifted. Sabalenka, who had looked so comfortable and confident at 3-love up, was now tight and nervous watching her commanding lead evaporate before her eyes. The tennis Rybakina produced during this comeback was absolutely breathtaking. She was hitting winners from impossible positions. Her serve, which had wavered slightly in the second set, was back to being an unstoppable weapon. She broke Sabalenka again to lead 5-3, giving herself the chance to serve for the Australian Open Championship. Can you imagine the pressure of that moment? Serving for a Grand Slam title against a player who had beaten you in this exact same final 2 years earlier. Elena Rybakina stepped up to the baseline, took a deep breath, and delivered one of the gutsiest service games you'll ever witness. And when she struck the final winner to close out the match 6-4, 4-6, 6-4, the emotion that poured out was 2 years in the making. Rybakina fell to her knees on the court, overcome with the magnitude of what she'd just accomplished. This wasn't just winning a Grand Slam. This was completing a revenge mission. This was proving to herself and the world that the 2023 defeat wasn't a ceiling, but a stepping stone. But here's where the story takes a frustrating turn and why we need to talk about Aryna Sabalenka's behavior after this devastating defeat. In what should have been a moment to acknowledge an opponent's exceptional performance, Sabalenka instead chose to focus almost entirely on her own mistakes and missed opportunities. In her post-match press conference, she went through a laundry list of things she felt she'd done wrong. According to Sabalenka's version of events, she didn't lose to Elena Rybakina. She lost to herself. This is profoundly disrespectful to Elena Rybakina. It minimizes her achievement. It suggests that she didn't truly earn the victory, that she was merely the beneficiary of her opponent's errors. Let's be absolutely clear about what happened on that court. Elena Rybakina didn't win because Aryna Sabalenka made mistakes. She won because she played superior tennis, made better tactical decisions, showed stronger mental fortitude, and executed at a higher level when the match hung in the balance. What makes this even more frustrating is that this isn't an isolated incident. This is a pattern of behavior from Sabalenka, specifically when it comes to Elena Rybakina. The head-to-head record in crucial matches tells a story that Sabalenka seems unwilling to accept. Rybakina has gotten inside her head. She's become Sabalenka's nightmare matchup. So here's what I need from you. Drop a comment below. Do you think Sabalenka showed enough respect to Rybakina's incredible performance? Or was she out of line, focusing only on her own mistakes? Smash that like button if you think Rybakina is the real queen of tennis right now. And subscribe with notifications on because we're covering every major tennis story as it happens. This revenge story was epic, and you won't want to miss what comes next.